Northwest Multiple Listing Service brokers encouraged by declining mortgage rates, with some saying pent-up demand is triggering multiple offers. Are we right back to multiple offer situation, escalation clauses, things going for way over list price? Kind of feels that way. Spring of 2023, that's what I think we're going to see. Let's jump into it. Let's find out what's going on in the Pacific Northwest real estate market based on MLS statistics. Here we go. Pending sales around Washington State reached the highest level since October and surged nearly 44% from December, according to the January report from Northwest Multiple Listing Service. Last month's 5,776 mutually accepted offers were down about 9% from a year ago, but brokers seem to be encouraged by the favorable spike. What we've had is that we just haven't had a ton of inventory come in the marketplace. Sellers are like, I'm going to hold off. I think prices might go up. You know what? In many instances, and we'll get to that, they are not wrong. Interest rates have come down. They've come down almost a full point. And so buyers kind of waited out that October, November, December, little bit of January, but felt like at the end of the first week of January, on the Summit end of things, not on the Reynolds and Klein end of things, but on the Summit end of things started to go right after the first. Now, Summit always has a little bit of a lead time over Reynolds and Klein because Reynolds and Klein, my appraisal company, they don't appraise purchases and activity going on until that gets to a point where you can order out the appraisal, which may be weeks after mutual acceptance. You got to get to that point, right? So what we're seeing is a burst of activity. Is this going to be, throughout the whole year? What's going to happen? Are you going to see more and more activity as interest rates have been coming down, slowly, I'll bet slowly, but they're not going to be under 4% anytime soon. But if they can hit 5.5%, you're going to see some activity. And I think that's where we're heading. That's where a lot of people in the industry think we're heading as well. Prices on last month's closed sales edged up slightly at 0.41% compared with 12 months ago. Okay, so that's pricing. So area-wide, pricing on average is up 0.41%. So just about half of a percentage over a year ago. So you've heard all this stuff about, housing's going to tank, housing's going in the crapper forever. You're hearing that yet again, with the way interest rates went, right? So what we had is year over year, a year ago. So January of 2022 through the summer of 2022, things really took off. And then things have come down, but they're still above where they were January of 2022 by almost a half percentage. So they have not dropped significantly to the point where they've outstripped 2022 gains. So this year, median house price, $557, January 2023. A year ago, $555. So it's gone up just a little bit. But the big deal there is it didn't decline. You're going to see declines in many markets throughout the United States. And that's what all the, national statistics are based on. They're based on, across the United States. Here in the Pacific Northwest, specifically here in Bellevue, Seattle, Redmond, Kirkland areas, we're a little bit more insulated because even though we've had a bunch of tech layoffs, you've still got a really strong employment market. We are seeing multiple offers once again, stated John Deely, Vice President of Operations at Coldwell Banker Bain. It's not like it was at the peak of the market, but buyers are out there and competing for properties. And that is what I am seeing as well. Buyers are out there and sellers not seeing a ton of inventory coming on the market, but you've got enough inventory to make this thing go. It's not like we're dead. We've got a couple of months worth of inventory, which is still a seller's market. And with rates coming down the way they are, we could be off to the mini races. I'm not going to say full blown races like we were in 2022, first half, but you've got market dynamics that are going to, push you in a direction where things are definitely still seller's market. Selection of properties based on the number of total active listings in the MLS database improved significantly from a year ago. So inventory has risen, rising from 3,092 listings to 8,220 at month end. So a ton more listings came on. Because you had a bunch of buyers that were like, we're just going to sit this out for a little bit and see what's going on. So with only 2 months worth of inventory, if you have some absorption happen in the next month or two, this, late spring market, this summer market we're going to have, it could be a hot one. I mean, I'm predicting that now. We could have some real activity because you just don't have the levels of inventory to support, just this relatively stable market moving forward. So brokers added about 4,900 new listings to the MLS database in January, about 1,000 fewer than the same month a year ago. Last month's additional additions outgained December when 2,980 properties were added. So more activity. We got more homes coming on the market. Interest rates are coming down. We've got a pretty good situation for this spring being decent, whereas having interest rates double in a very short period of time would have basically crushed any other real estate market. It just would have. While residential inventory is popping above 6 months in a few of our reporting counties, which is at the upper edge of a balanced market, our most populated counties, King, Pierce, and Snohomish, they're still sitting at one or two months of inventory. That's what you need to remember. Limited inventory, dropping interest rates. And now you've got a situation where weather is going to be steadily getting better. We're still in winter. Let's be honest. We just switched over from January to February. It's going to be crappy for another couple of months, but people have in their head, okay, spring's coming. All right. I want to do that garden thing in my new house. I want to have my kids running around the yard. I want my kids to settle into their new school district. I want to do all these things. I want to decorate in the spring. People get kind of, hunkered down in their home because they can't go outside a lot. They're looking for something new. And I think that's a lot of what you're going to see happen, which happens every single spring, right? The January report from Northwest MLS shows Adams, Columbia, Grays Harbor, Okanagan, and San Juan counties each had more than 6 months of inventory. 10 counties had less than 3 months of supply. So those counties are basically typically have very little inventory to begin with. So when they spike like that, that's because they get like a handful of listings and, statistically it goes way up, but those are not large population counties by any means. They're very, very small, in fact, compared to King and Pearson in Snohomish County. We saw a favorable spike of intensity in the market in January, reported John L. Scott. He's the CEO of John L. Scott Real Estate. With fewer new resale homes coming onto the market, there's a shortage / low level of unsold inventory, especially in the more affordable and mid-price ranges where approximately 80% of the sales activity takes place. Okay. So your low-end stuff and that next notch up below your multi-million-dollar sales price point, there's not a ton of inventory in that sweet spot, which is entry level, and then that next step above entry level. So, and what we're saying is, 80% of the market is there. You don't have much supply. You don't have much inventory. So again, you've got the perfect storm for another year of, okay, let's see where this goes. And you're going to see articles, you're going to see media saying this market is just indestructible. It will continue forever. Never mind that post where I said it was going to drop 15%. You're going to see that happen. That will happen this spring. Mark my words. Unless, you've got like a weather balloon that floats over the country and then got to do something about it. I mean, anything like that could really tamper with the real estate market. We'll just have to see what happens, right? Broker Dean Rubin, owner of Village Homes and Properties, believes the spring real estate market is here early. All right. Combination of pent-up buyer demand, attractive prices, and low inventory in King, Pierce, and Snohomish counties are driving sales. He pointed to reasonable interest rates. Now, what's reasonable? Well, people got used to that 3%, maybe 4%. Those are not reasonable. Those are historically low interest rates. Anything 5% is amazing. It's incredible. But 5% relative to 2.5%, 2.75% is high. So now we're coming down, and I think you'll see interest rates in the 5.5% range here in another couple of months. I really think that's where we're headed. And when that happens, I think that will trigger some more activity as well. Because as those rates drop, purchasers are like, okay, well, we sat this one out and we saw what happened when we didn't jump on it last time. So this time we're going to get that running head start and let's get that pre-approval going and be ready to jump. If you're in the home for a market, be ready to jump and have all that good financing stuff taken care of. While interest rates have tempered a bit, many buyers are moving forward to purchase with an intent to refinance once rates come down more. Stated Frank Wilson. He's the Kitsap regional manager and branch manager at John L. Scott North Kitsap office. That is a real strategy a lot of people are using. Hey, I'm going to lock in the pricing now. I know that it's more than I want to spend on a monthly basis. Well, when interest rates come down, yes, I'll spend a couple of grand and I'll refinance because you're going to have to cover all the, new appraisal. You're going to have to cover, new issued title, escrow. You're going to have to go through that process again. You're going to have a bunch of fees. It's going to be, a few $1,000s, but if you can get that lower interest rate and you plan to be in the home for maybe more than a handful of years, that approach definitely makes sense. Get the house now that you want because I think pricing is going to go up. I really do. Last month's median price for homes that sold in Kitsap County was $487,000, well below the median price in both King, $723, and Snohomish, $645. Prices in Kitsap are down from a year ago in December, but inventory is tight with supply more than inventory is tight with slightly more than 2 months of supply. So no matter where we're talking about, there is not a ton of inventory in the more populated areas. There's not. And so you take that, combine that with some dropping interest rates, you're going to see a market. I'm not going to say it's going to go on fire, but relative to how the second half of 2022 went, which was crickets, there just wasn't a lot going on, just not a lot of transactions happening because people were shell shocked by interest rates or what? So a couple of months ago, I could have afforded what? And I can afford what now? Oh man, this sucks. Well, anyway, let's work on Christmas presents and we'll hunker down and we'll see what happens in 2023. That's literally what all the buyers entering into the marketplace right now thought and are doing. Some version of that anyway. I oversimplify. Wilson described the market in Kitsap as similar, that's over west, as similar to a well-planted bed of tulips. You know it's there, but you will not see any real color until March or April. He believes many sellers are waiting until later in the year to sell, but noted buyers who must buy are currently out in numbers. That is one thing that I think people are not aware of. People are thinking the market is still dead. It's turned around. And by that, I mean it has a little bit of activity to it. I am hearing on the regular from my own brokers and other brokers out there who are very active. Hey, we've got multiple offer situations. We've got multi-million-dollar homes selling first day because there's limited supply. And if people need to make a move, guess what? They're going to make that move, whether interest rates are at 6% or 5.5%. Because if they can afford it either way, they're going to jump in and maybe they do that refinance down the road. All right, let's see what else we got here. Usually after the first page or so. Although brokers and buyers welcome the declining rates and improving inventory, several obstacles still faced first-time home buyers. Based on his observations, Ruin said that the biggest challenge to first-time buyers involves assembling the down payment. Things have gotten so expensive that just getting that down payment together, it's ridiculous, right? Average $1 million home. Well, let's call it an average $850,000 home in King County. So, you're looking at 175 grand. You're looking at, something along those lines. Maybe it's a couple $100,000 just to get into a home. You got to be making some really good money to not only be living, but put aside that down payment. So, and those are numbers here in King County. Other areas where, your median housing price is maybe 600. In Kitsap County over west, it's 487, far more affordable. But then again, They don't have the employment base. They don't have the Amazons, Microsofts, Facebook, Meta, all of these companies that pay Amazon, that pay these amazing salaries, and so that their employees can afford, much more expensive homes. So that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with an employment situation driving a real estate market. And oftentimes it's not super interest rate sensitive. If you need a home, if you're moving into the area, you're going to buy a home. And that is what we're experiencing right now here in the Puget Sound market, especially close in to where the proximity of, a lot of the jobs are to the closer in employment centers. The condo market in our most populated counties is quite a bit different and not recovering as quickly, Deely said, adding, however, it's still active and the sales that are taking place are keeping the condo market in balance. Condo market always lags single family, typically because there is less demand. If you can buy a house, if you can afford a house, you're going to go with that. Everybody wants their own little bit of privacy. Everybody wants their own space. They don't necessarily want to work with a homeowners association. It's not ideal until maybe you get older and then you're like, give me the condo. Screw all that, yard maintenance and home maintenance. Just give me the condo. I want to pay my dues and, just have a set it and, go free lifestyle. So condos versus homes. Yeah. Condos are typically going to lag from a statistical standpoint, relative to demand because, more people want a home. It's the American dream. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah. Labor Department, some stats. One of the big things we had last week was the number of jobs added to the market. I think was 564,000. I mean, that was pretty insane. That was pretty incredible, but you're still going to have inflation numbers coming in that are probably going to reflect at least a couple of more small rate hikes, probably 25 basis points, quarter of a percentage hike to the federal funds rate. The number that the federal funds uses to kind of try and damper inflation. So I think you're still going to see a couple more of those, but we're kind of watching what the Fed is saying. And I think they meet 8 times a year. So pay attention to that as well if you're in the housing market, because that has a lot to do with where interest rates are. Not necessarily when they make a 25% basis point hike, mortgage rates don't necessarily go up. It's based on expectations. So the market right now has priced into it. Today's mortgage rates already have priced into it the expectations that the Fed is going to bump rates at least twice more, probably a quarter percentage point each time. If something happens, outside of that, whether they bump it more or they bump it less, then mortgage rates will react. But otherwise, the expectation is this is what we've got. So we've got a pretty stable outlook here, barring, again, a weather balloon flying over the United States, something crazy like that happening and, fireworks go off, something along those lines. But as far as that goes, you can't control that. You can only deal with the information you have in front of you. So if you have a seller, it's going to be probably a pretty strong time to put the house on the market, say this, March, April, probably sooner than later. So you can get those buyers in that want to get settled before, this year gets away from us. And I'm saying this in early February. That's kind of how this happens, right? And if you've got buyers out there, it's probably a pretty good time because those rates will come down, in my opinion. We'll see if they don't, and you can make fun of me if they don't. But that's where I think we sit. So if you've got buyers, encourage them to get pre-qualified and do all that good stuff, because there might come a time where you see one of those, short blips where rates really drop, and take advantage of that. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thank you so much for being here. I will catch up with you on the next one. Bye for now.